What's the most overhyped plugin that you can think of?
I'm gonna get a lot of hate for this one. Um,
Summ, HTK, the YouTube channel, Summ, hit the keys. What I'm very impressed about with you and what I'm excited to share with our audience is how you've been able to kind of master the music business, but specifically not just, having a 25-year career with rapping, but transitioning and doing things with skill sets that you've developed and making money. And that's everything of what I'm about on how do we monetize our skill sets, our careers, and make it happen. So I kind of just want to jump right into this. First of all, thank you for being here.
all right, thanks for having me.
We just did a little interview on your channel, and that was amazing. We covered a ton. So I kind of want to go more into what you do on your channel. And you do plugin reviews and tutorials, live streams, collabs. You do so many things, but you get more into the nitty gritty with the actual like plugins and VSTs and stuff. So we'll be talking about that. But where I wanted to start was, as we're going in, we have the new year coming up, and everyone's hopefully they're getting excited. And so, I would say let's start with what do you think is the number one way that artists and producers are going to lose money this year?
Well, first and foremost, let me say you're throwing that word master around pretty loosely when you're referring to me. But I guess I would say, how do I think artists are going to lose money? Honestly, I think artists are going to lose money when it comes with AI. I think a lot of just being honest, a lot of artists are going to go to getting beats from AI or using AI technology to replace actual artists. And I say that more so because just today, as the day of that we're recording this podcast, Output just dropped a new plugin and it's free, and you can basically type in what you're looking for. So you can type in, I want a Roddy Ricch type beat, slow melodic, and then it'll give you that melody for free. You can download it. It'll give you 4 different options, and you can keep scrolling through and scrolling through and scrolling through until you find exactly what you're looking for. So I think that because there's such a disconnect a lot of times between producers and artists, between, maybe sometimes we should work together with an artist. I'm not trying to say don't get paid, but if you're not getting paid selling anything and the artist isn't making any money, but you guys are both good, sometimes it works good to just link up together and try to profit together instead of profit off each other. But I see that there's such a disconnect to where back in the day, like all rappers had producers, and they worked together. Like EPMD, one was a producer initially to start off, one was the rapper, Eric B and Rakim. Eric B was the producer, the DJ, Rakim was the rapper. But just continuing to move forward, most artists always worked with a specific producer, and they split points, they split the way that they were going to make money and things together. But now we look at it as we're fighting with each other, and there's a lot of infighting in the community, which makes it hard to work together, and people are just going to find other ways to put their music out, whether it's like we talked about the AI Drake song, Heart on My Sleeve, or whether it's now rappers figuring out, hey, I can just go download this melody and put some drum loop behind it, and now I've got a beat for my song. I don't need a producer anymore. So I
It
think
kind of
AI.
seems like it kind of seems like your answer is two parts. One, it's, AI is going to come and take your job, right? But
Right,
two, it's like almost isolation, which is what so many of us do as independent artists
right.
and label owners and stuff like that, is actually going to backfire on you.
Right, right. I believe so. It's just it's gonna put people more into their own little bubble. They're not gonna be reaching out for help. And another thing that is good when you're a producer or you're an artist and you're working with somebody else, now you have 2 people pushing a product, and you have
Right.
2 people's fan bases and 2 people's friends and families and all these other people pushing your product, versus just you yourself trying to do everything by yourself.
Need contracts for your music business? Go to topmusicattorney.com to get downloadable templates such as NDAs, record label agreements, management agreements, featured artist agreements, and so much more. Go to topmusicattorney.com. I have this belief, 2 is amazing, but I really think that when you have the trifecta and you have someone who's like really good with the creative, someone who's really good with the business, and someone who's really good with operations, like that's really for me, the absolute perfect scenario. But at least 2, I think, is better than 1.
No,
But look, if you are 1, that's cool. That's cool too.
I agree with you on so many different levels with that too. I know we'll probably get there, but I'll just say now. I used to do a bunch of shows back in the day, so I used to throw these huge shows in Omaha. We threw like the biggest shows in like the state for a long time, and we basically were a trifecta. It was me. I was the
Mm.
host. I was the sound guy. I performed a lot. I was the point of contact for the locations, and then I had a DJ. So obviously the DJ focused on DJing, on keeping on the crowd entertained, keeping the flow of the show going, everything like that. And then we had a promotion company, and the promotion company focused on bringing the people to the shows, and they focused on doing everything like from the flyers, helping book acts, all that other stuff. And we came together, and the fact that we had 3 different pieces that could all focus on what they needed to focus on allowed us to have successful shows. So I wouldn't argue that at all, because not everybody's an expert at everything. You're an expert in the area that you're good at. And it's not a bad thing. We always think it's a bad thing to ask for help, but it's not a bad thing to lean on somebody who does something better than you, because at the end of the day, that you have a greater chance of being successful if that's the case.
Yeah, I love that. And I would say the exception to that might just be some people who are maybe a little too eager and they just don't want to do the work. There's a difference of what we're talking about here versus, be willing to do everything, be the label, be
Right,
the promoter, be the manager, be the artist in the beginning, right? And at some
right,
point, you get people to come in who are qualified, they believe in your vision, they want to be on your team, but there's a lot of exploitative people. And so I think that if you're in a rush, you're like, oh my gosh, I just need a manager, I just need a label, you're going to sign anything. You're not going to get an attorney to review your contracts. I mean, these are the horror stories that we hear. But for me, I just find that it's usually a mindset thing, and someone's just so eager. And so they take the first thing that comes along, like, oh my gosh, I'm never going to get another opportunity, versus, no, I'm going to do this all myself. And if you want to join my team, then you got to prove it.
right.
Yeah.
I don't disagree. I think you hit the nail right on the head with that one with the hammer.
So, all right. So then follow up, what would be the number one way that artists and producers will waste time this year? We got a lot of productive procrastinators, right? You might be someone who's like, I'm going to go and send 1,000 emails and you're cold calling and all this stuff. And it might not be a good use of time. So what
I
do you
think
think?
I think honestly, just wasting time, or I know that's a generic answer, but I say that because just yesterday, I run this whole Facebook group, FL Studio group, and there's about 140, 150,000 people in there. And I asked people, not even kidding you, yesterday, what's your biggest setback in production? And a lot of the answers I got were all just answers of, I don't want to say people are being lazy, because a lot of time, I mean, it really, that's what it is, but you're not realizing you're being lazy until somebody really tells you, hey man, you're being lazy. Some people are like, I just don't have time. And I'm like, you got time, man. Like, there's enough time in the day. Well, the way that my job is set up, and then I always tell them, dude, I worked 60 hours as a general manager. I had a wife, I had kids. I was doing cooked dinner every single day, but I still found time to throw 2 shows a week. I still found time to put out albums. I still found out time to record myself, record other people. A lot of it is getting rid of some of the things that you want to do in your life. So, if you want to be a musician, sometimes you have to sacrifice. If you want to sincerely figure out how to make money and do the things that you want to do, you might have to sacrifice watching your favorite show every night. You might have to sacrifice binge watching on Netflix. You might have to sacrifice playing NBA 2K when it comes out, or Madden, or whatever the game is. Sometimes you have to sacrifice that. Or like what I say with procrastination or wasting time is, a lot of artists, they will start making a beat, and then they don't like the way the beat sounds. So they'll just delete the beat, or they won't finish the beat, or they won't save the beat. And I always say, finish every beat that you make. So, I get that everybody's creativity's level's different, but the more you practice makes perfect. And like, I'm not here to say that I'm the greatest producer. I'm not here to say I'm the greatest rapper. I'm not here to say I'm the greatest YouTube content creator. But one thing that I can say is that I am as consistent as anybody that you'll ever see. And so since I consistently work on trying to put together, music every day, I put out a video 5 times a week, And so I'm making music. I'm putting out 5 beats for you to hear every single week. And then I make music. So it's not like I'm just creating only for my content. On my days off, that's what I do for fun, is I'll make 2 or 3 beats or whatever. So the way I look at it is, if I can make 15, 20 beats a week, you can make 1 beat every 3 days. You just have to finish it. If you don't like the way that the beat sounds, then you just need to start switching up sounds, because you might not like the way the beat sounds because it's the sound that you're using. So again, that comes down to wasting time, because if you're not going to save the beat, and let's say the last 5 times you got in the studio, you've gotten in the studio 3 times in 15 days or 5 times in 15 days, and you deleted every single beat that you have put out, then you just wasted 15 days, At least if you complete that beat and you don't like it, you might come back later on and you might like it, or you play it for somebody and somebody else might like it. Like, a lot of the beats that I've sold, or people have rapped on, or so on and so forth have been beats that I didn't even like. I didn't even think that were good, you know. Or I put out beats every day. You think I like every single beat that I put out in a demonstration? Not a chance. Some of the beats I'd be like, man, that beat is garbage. But you know, in the
But
comment
someone liked
section,
it.
yeah, somebody liked it. Somebody's always like, oh, that was fire. That flute
Yeah.
went, you know, them drums or whatever. So I think a lot of it is making excuses and just wasting time, just not sitting down and just making yourself complete it. Because once you get into a routine, if you go from somebody who is not finishing beats and you just get it to where now you're finishing beats every time, you're going to notice that you're putting out more products. You are
Mhm.
completing more beats. It's becoming easier. You're becoming more confident in yourself because once you finish something, you're confident in it. So the more you finish, the more you're building your confidence. And it's going to allow you just to become a better producer or rapper or singer or whatever it is that you do. But the key thing is finishing it. And a lot of it is, I can't stress enough, is wasting time and procrastinating.
Ugh, preach. There's just so much good stuff in there. Let me just go back on a couple points. So even with, as an entertainment attorney, I work with so many creatives, and half of the time this whole they stop at some point, they just stop too soon. And it wasn't that it was bad, it's just they weren't done. And from a psychology standpoint, we get in our heads and we talk ourselves down and we're like, this isn't good enough, this is garbage, so therefore I'll delete it. And so I love everything that you're saying. And I would even say from a psychology standpoint, you actually have to build trust. This is a real thing that you do to build like the neurons in your brain to show up and do it. Because if you go into the session, you had to motivate yourself and you finally do it, but then you give up halfway through
Right.
and then you delete it. You kind of lie to yourself. You go, I told myself I was going to do this thing and then I didn't. And so you continue to reinforce that you are the kind of person who doesn't follow through. And that's a lie. So you can, and that's a big change that you can make this year. So take that to the bank. But what you're saying is time management as well. Put down the video games. Okay. If we're talking about just
Right.
general laziness, get it. But like in a more practical application, you're talking about, having a family, having kiddos. And, I think sometimes the sacrifice is even in sacrificing moments with your family. Because let's say if you have a day job, which a lot of people do, and producers and artists, the only time you have for your family is the weekends and nights. And that's the time that you could be working on your career. So sometimes you have to sacrifice those important moments for something greater because you're building something for yourself and your family. And so it's an exchange. And so it's not just, hey, we're just, not 2 hours in Netflix now, it's only 20 minutes, but maybe even like a real sacrifice like that.
Well, I think one thing first, with the confidence thing, something that people is so underrated is if you don't have confidence, or like let's say you're not confident in yourself. This is something that I preach and I believe that everybody should do every single day. Look in the mirror and tell yourself you love yourself 15 times. If you can tell yourself that you love yourself, and I mean, it's funny, for the first few times you do it, it's funny. But I promise you guys, if you don't have the greatest self confidence and you can look yourself in the eye and tell yourself that you honestly love yourself. That'll do a whole lot for your confidence. I know it may sound dumb to some of you guys because you've never tried it, but if you try it, I promise you, you take one thing away from this whole entire podcast, take this away because it'll help your confidence extremely. I still do it to this
A
day.
neuroscience, if I can jump in really fast, a neuroscientist actually said something to this effect. So what you're saying is not just like whatever you want to call it, but actually there's a basis for doing this, looking yourself in the eyeball. And then he even said, on top of that, brush your teeth with the opposite
With
hand
the left hand, if
and
you're right-handed,
with the
yeah.
lefty, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and go outside and breathe in, like, I think it's
That's right.
30 breaths really hard.
I
You
totally
never
did
in
it
your
too.
life.
I was
Did
like,
you?
it felt a little bit silly. It felt silly, but I get it. I go, when you really reflect on yourself as a separate human for a moment, and you go, if I really love and care about myself this much, I want myself to succeed, and so I'm going
Right,
to do the things to succeed. So I think
right.
I love that you shared that.
And I mean, think about it like this too, most artists, who are where they are, they'll do anything to succeed, like she just said. And so, like, if that's the bare minimum that you have to do to get started and get your confidence going, I would try it. But
Hey.
as far as with the family time and stuff like this, here's what I'll say. I tried never to sacrifice family time. What I would try to do, I would sacrifice sleep. And I know that may not be healthy and that may not be what, a lot of people want to hear, but if you got kids and stuff like that, your kids go to bed at 9, 8, 9, 10, depending on when you want to put your kids to bed. And so then if you have a partner, that's when you work with your partner and you're like, hey, every night from 10 to 12, I'm going to work on music. I can Do whatever. I can, be here and put the kids together at 8 or 8:30 or whatever time. And then me and you, we can spend some time together from 8:30 to 10. But from 10 to 12, I got to work on this. And for the most part, you would think that your partner would be like, okay, because of the fact that, that's your partner. They're supposed to love you and love what you do. I can't speak on every relationship because I know every relationship's not like that. But I would say don't do like I did though. I might have took it a little too far. And instead of 10 to 12, I was like 10 to 2, I'm gonna be downstairs, and I'll get up and go to work at 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning, and just do that every day. Just make sure you give your significant other time, and they should be willing to, allow you to work on your music. You're at home, you're not out in the streets.
There's something that feels so satisfactory in doing that, and I can use this as an example. When I was done with college, I gave myself 1 semester because I had this thing. I was like, maybe I want to go to law school, but I was like, I don't want to be an attorney. I want to make sure I always honor my creative path. I will always do music. And so I go, I'm going to give myself 1 semester to be like full time as a musician. And so for that semester, it was the most lost I'd ever felt. And I felt like a loser. I had no idea what I was doing. I reached out to producers, and I was young and dumb and all the things. But then when I did decide to go to law school, something happened because I had that same level of commitment. And so now I had this very small window where I had to get up at 4 a.m. So I'd have to go and do my music and learn producing and all this stuff before going to class at 7. And then when I got done at 10 p.m. that night, I'd get back into the studio. And that created such a fire in me that I got my album out in like 2 months. And then
I bet.
I started going from there, and shows and all the things. And so it's, again, we go back to perspective, psychology, and just understanding how to tap into your power.
It's not easy either. I remember when I first started YouTube, I had just moved to Atlanta a little bit ago, and I was trying to get my life together. And I kind of just started YouTube because I wanted to do something to give back. So like my channel has never been about like necessarily my music or me or anything like that, because it's like, I'm kind of old now at this point. My goal in life isn't necessarily to become a famous rapper or producer. But if I can, make money creating content while I'm helping people out and getting to play with new toys and, just do kind of cool stuff, give good advice and stuff like that. That's what I would prefer to do at this point. I'm not really one who wants to go tour no more. And I'm not built like that no more. I don't have the energy in me just because I'm 42 now. I'm not a spring chicken anymore. But when I was working, I started working when I was doing the YouTube because I wasn't monetized or nothing like that. And when I quit, I think the hardest transition was just like what you're saying. Like when I quit my job, because I was like, I can do YouTube full time because of everything that I do. I make enough money between the beta testing and, the YouTube, and I was ghost producing at the time, which I'm not really doing anymore, but that affiliate, just a whole bunch of stuff, selling beats, I engineer for people, just all the stuff that I found myself doing with music. I figured if I cut this job out, I can take all these different things and I can do all these other things, and I can actually do what I enjoy doing, and I can be all right. But when I first quit, it was difficult because I had no time management, because it was like before, I had to work. So since I had to work like 6 hours a day, I knew I had every day when I got off work, I was streaming, and then I had to shoot a video, and then I had to edit the video, and then I'd go to sleep, I'd wake up, I'd start a thumbnail, I'd mix a song, I'd do all, but it was like a nonstop train of stuff because I knew I had only so many hours in a day. But when I found those extra 6, 7 hours a day, I found myself not being, I don't want to say, I was being lazy because I wasn't a go-getter as I was before. So I wasn't going all the time. I was like, I can, you know what I'm saying, chill out
Right.
for a little bit before I, decide to get this stuff going and all this other stuff. And now, what I realize is that every day I wake up, at 7 or 8. So if I have to edit a video still, I wake up at 7 o'clock in the morning, even though, I'm probably up till 2 or 3, but I always set my alarm. I get up at 7, or if I don't have to edit a video, then I'll get up at 8, and then I'll start researching my content for the next day, or practicing an instrument that I'm going to review, or just doing something that's, kind of, moving the content forward. But then I work all day, and then I'll take a break from like 1 in the afternoon till like maybe 3 or 4. And then I'll work the rest of the night. So then I'll get the rest of my video together. I'll go record the video. I'll mess, I've just built a routine, because I know if I don't put a routine into what I'm doing, it's going to allow me to make excuses as to why I'm not putting content out. And that's what you don't want. You don't want that built-in excuse to not do something. If you know you got to do it. Just make a schedule and follow that schedule to a T. Write down notes, write down a checklist every day of the things that I have to accomplish before I can call myself done for the day. And you'll see results that you never thought you could see before. Write it down
And
though.
I've found that the schedule can be the hack to overcome bad days as well. So I kind of call it, this is how you become superhuman. And so you show up every day despite how you feel, despite how, if you're sick or you're in a bad mood or you feel like you just want to cry, it doesn't matter. You show up because you have a schedule. And so at a minimum, even if it was a bad day, you still followed through and you accomplished something for your career, for your business. And, I found that to be true personally as well.
Yeah, I had the vid last week. I didn't even tell you when we shot our
Oh,
podcast. I had
really?
the yeah, I was in terrible shape, but I was like, man, I've scheduled this pod. I don't want to cancel it. And then I was doing all that. I mean, I still grinded super hard that week because even though I was sick, the content wasn't going to put itself out. I had commitments that I had to make, I still had to stream because I told my people I was going to stream. I still had to put out videos because I still had sponsored videos, or there was still news that needed to be recovered, or there was just stuff that needed to be done. So, just because I was sick doesn't mean I work at home. So, I can still work, I'm not going to get nobody else sick. Gotta keep pushing through.
Well, I think when you're doing something that you're genuinely passionate about, setting aside the illness, that's push through. That's a different skill set. But what you were talking about with just like, everything that you do and how you structure things is related to really like this end goal. And I think that if you find something that you love, that's really what it should be. You're researching what's new in the category and what do you want to do and how can you make your channel better and how can you bring your audience more value? Let's talk to the fans today. Like all of that is just where your head is at because you just love what you do.
All right. I agree.
If you're a hustler like me, working on your career every day, go to topmusicattorney.com to apply to work directly with me. Let's get your music business to 6 figures and beyond. Okay, so we are going to transition, talking a little bit more now about your YouTube channel, and I want to get into some like rapid fire questions about plugins, what's overhyped, what's underrated, all the things. But let's talk about the YouTube channel because this is, you have a great YouTube channel. People love your content. And so as far as, maybe when you started, was it just bliss right away or did you have struggles with the YouTube channel? Anything you can share with someone who wants to start a YouTube channel?
Well, when I first started, my first video did really well. It was just a tutorial, basically how to make a beat in FL Studio. And it did really well. It's got like over 1,000 views, which I know it's not a lot at this point, but for your first video, that was pretty good.
Mhm.
And I thought that from that point, I was just gonna take off. I thought like immediately I was gonna blow up. No, that didn't happen though. So what happens a lot with YouTube is your first video is gonna do pretty well because all your friends and family, they want to see what you're doing, they want to see what you're up to. And
Right.
they'll like it and they'll comment or whatever, or they don't like, again, I'm old, so they don't understand what they're supposed to do. So like, they don't understand they're supposed to comment this in the comment section and not on my Facebook post. So if you go back and look at the Facebook post, there's like 100 comments on the Facebook post. There's like a couple hundred likes. But
You
then
got
when you look at
20
the video,
emails
yeah,
from your
yeah, yeah,
family.
yeah. But when you text messages and stuff, people telling me it was good because I tagged a bunch of people, and we'll get to that here in a second too. But I tagged a bunch of people, and it just got good response. But they didn't know they were supposed to like the YouTube video. They didn't know that they were supposed to comment on the YouTube video. They thought that doing it on the Facebook one was enough. And so then the next video dropped and it did all right. It probably got like 350, 400 views. I mean, it was better. The quality got better. But then the views started tailing off a little bit as the video went. And what I will say for potential YouTubers out there, no matter what your niche is going to be, make sure you do different things in that niche. So you don't want to be like a musician, but then you're talking about knitting and then you're doing makeup and all this. Don't do that. That's you're going to confuse people who are watching your channel. But you should do something like for instance, I was doing tutorials when I first started, but I really wanted to do plugin reviews and gear reviews. I'm not even going to lie. I wanted to be something like, Marcus Brownlee for, music stuff, or, Linus Tech Tips for music stuff. But I didn't know how to get into that lane. And I figured, well, just do tutorials because, you're not going to be buying all these plugins and all this stuff right at first. Build up your platform and then do it. So I did reviews on stuff that I had, like the headphones I had at the time. I did a video where I taught people how to make these panels and stuff like that. These soundproof panels and stuff like that. But it took me a long time before I started doing reviews, which ultimately is what I wanted to do, but I thought something else would do better for me. So I say all that to say, if I would have started doing reviews earlier, my channel probably would have monetized quicker than it did. It took me 10 months to monetize, but I probably would have monetized in like 5 months if I would have started doing reviews earlier. So just make sure that you're doing everything in the spectrum that you might like to do, because you don't know what you're going to like doing the best. You think you do. I thought that I would like rapping and doing songs and stuff like that on YouTube, because I'm probably a better not probably, I'm a better rapper than I am producer. So you would figure that's what I would like to do the most on YouTube, but it's not. It's actually like dissecting gear. It's the process of getting a new keyboard and then like pulling open the manual and nerding out on this manual and reading this manual, and then like figuring out how to the stuff that I never thought that I would have thought I liked to do, but figuring out all these presets and figuring out how to make sounds on synthesizers, or getting a new plug-in and figuring out how to do weird stuff. So they'll say, oh, this is for vocals, but figuring out how to get it to work on a violin or some percussion, or figuring out different ways to use these tools so you can show people in your video, hey, they say that you can only use this for drums, but I used it on vocals, I used it on a piano, I used it on, you can use it on all these different things if you want to, and here's how you can do it. So it's I think that you should, I can't stress enough, you should try more than one thing. Don't put all your eggs in one basket, because again, you don't know what you're going to like the most when you first start doing YouTube.
Okay, so then back to the reviews, right? So you are still doing live music reviews? Are there any artists kind of on your radar right now?
I have some artists that are on my radar. I got this guy who pops in all the time. His name is Wonder and he makes some fire beats. He does production for all kinds of different genres. So he'll do R&B, he'll do hip hop, he'll do trap, he'll do stuff like that, but he like mixes and masters, and he always does a good job of sending over like beats that are, or songs that sound almost polished. They might need a few little touch-ups or whatever, but he always sends over good music. I have this guy who's my boy, I guess. I've kicked it with him the last 2 years at NAMM. His name is Percolum Audio. He makes really good music, and he makes music that I don't typically listen to. So he makes a lot of like EDM music and stuff like that. But his mixes are some of the best mixes like I've ever heard in my life. And I've heard him send music to other music critiques, and they're like, your mix sounds too perfect. You need to do some things to change it up. And I'm like, don't change nothing. Like if I can mix
So
like anybody in the world, yeah, I would mix like you. I have another artist named Tone Montana who hops into the streams often, and he makes a lot of trap music. His beats are fire. And then I got a newcomer to the streams, and his name is Steven Acosta, and he makes how can I explain it? He makes music that sounds like it should be in an Apple commercial, or it sounds like it should be in like a Kia commercial. And that's what I tell him every time. That's no slight. You just have those upbeat, beats that make
syncable beats.
That's what I always tell him. I always tell him you need to start sending these off to get sync licenses, because his beat will sound like it'll be like 4 different beats in one beat. It'll evolve so much. He does all these buildups and all these breaks, and it'll go from being like a trap beat for a minute to some kind of EDM genre that I'm not familiar with, but it'll just sound like it's a Kia commercial, and I mean, I got some people in there who make some solid music for sure.
That's
and we
cool.
do those.
No,
we do those on Wednesdays and Sundays too, by the way.
Hey, there you go. Well, I was gonna say, so we kind of did that a little bit on the channel, but we're really trying to get into that, I think, this year, because it's just a lot of fun, but it's great to give people exposure. And then quite frankly, it's just, I have so many, artists that reach out to me and producers who reach out to me to work with me. And I'm always just looking for just kind of like, what are you doing? You know what I'm saying? I want to see that people are doing their own thing. You know what I'm saying? That they have a drive and a hustle, and they have a sound that they're working towards, and that they're looking for support. So anyway, I'm excited to get more into that. But anyway,
let me say one more thing real quick. One thing that you'll really enjoy about that once you start doing it. My favorite part about the whole listening to people's music is listening to people's journey, because a lot of people who come into the streams, they've been streaming with me. They've been in these listening to your music streams for a year, 2 years now at this point. And I have this one girl. I'm going to shout her out. Her name is Chica Pryor. when she first came, she had no confidence. She wasn't confident in her voice, and she didn't want to sing. She would share music with me, but only in like private on Discord and stuff like that. But dude, now she is killing it. Like her voice is phenomenal. And it's a lot of these artists, you know, you see them start off and, you know, they're picking the worst sounds and they just can't string together a melody to save their life. And now it's like, you make better beats than me, dude. What you been doing the last 2 years, you know? And that's the greatest part, is seeing that, you know, you help them. I mean, I'm not taking any credit away from anybody, you know, like they do all the work. I can just critique it, and it's up to you to either take the critique or not, but it's up to you to get better. So they do all the work, but it's good to see that, you know, you help them with the confidence and things like that. And it's good to see, you know, your good words pay off for them, I guess. That makes sense.
100%, 100%. Like I even love the ones, you know, when I kind of, you know, scout talent, and when I work with them, a big part of what we do, the first thing that we do is music marketing. What are you doing? What do your socials look like? What's your posting schedule? Like there's nothing more important to support all your efforts of, okay, now we have a song, now we're releasing it, now we have a video. But anyway, so as I'm working with people, getting through their own kind of insecurities and all the stuff we all feel about posting online and putting yourself out there and being exposed, and otherwise just not wanting to do it because we're all just artists and we're musicians and we don't do that, and getting over that, it's so important. So when you see someone applying what you are kind of teaching them and they start building and they go from, you know, 0 to even just like 1,000, 10,000, 100,000, like it's really amazing.
Yeah, I got the one more thing. One artist named Coley, he used to hop in the streams a little bit. And like when he first got in, he had like 1,000 viewers or something, maybe 2,000 subscribers. This dude got songs with 30 or 300,000 views, and just like, this dude is killing it. Like I think he's got like 30, 40, 50,000 subscribers. And I just remember when he had one, and all he does is put out music, and but he's funny. His music is all funny, you know. So it's a great feeling, you know. It's a great feeling.
Yeah, no, I have a feeling we're going to end up collabing a couple times this year, because these are just, we can keep going down different avenues, and just there's so much to talk about. But anyway, so let's move on. I did want to talk of your area of expertise. So on more rapid fire questions, but not that fast. You can answer as you need. So what's the most overhyped plugin that you can think of?
I'm going to get a lot of hate for this one. I mean, okay, can I say two of them? All right, sure. So the most overhyped plugin is anything from Unison Audio, because of the way that they put their ads in all of our videos. So like the Unison Drum Monkey or MIDI Wizard or anything like that, they do all the overhyping on that. You know, it's like every musician, they get an ad for that all the time. So they overhype their own self. Now, as far as what people say, what I think the most overrated plugin is, I'm going to get a lot of flack for this one, but I think Serum is the most overrated plugin out. And that's because there's plugins like Vital, and there's a bunch of other plugins out now that are similar to it. Since there's other stuff out, it's not really the GOAT anymore, because you can just hop in Vital. You can't do everything that you can do in Serum, but Vital's free, and you can do, you know, almost everything that you can do in Serum. And there's a ton of different packs. And now there's a plugin out, or an application, where you can download a sound from any song into that application, and it will link up with Vital, and then it will emulate that sound, and it'll give you that sound in the plugin. So if you hear a song that you heard from whatever it was, a Taylor Swift song or whatever song, if it's a synth sound, you can get it right in Vital without a problem. You don't even have to create it. So it's like Vital's not really as necessary as it used to be anymore.
I got to be honest, that's kind of interesting. It's not sampling. It's maybe an interpolation. I don't know. Could we run into copyright issues? I will need to investigate.
I don't think so, because you can't copyright a sound, but you can copyright a melody. So it's not taking the melody, it's taking the sound, and it's putting the sound into the plugin and just giving you that sound. Because you can, you know, you can get a synthesizer like a Moog or whatever, like a Take 5 sequential. And if I make the same bass as somebody else has, I can't get sued for using that bass. I can get sued for using that bass in the same bass line or drum, you know, same line, or, you know, melody line or whatever. But the same sound, you know, you can't get sued for using a guitar. You can't get sued for using a piano.
Well, and I'll challenge you on that just a little bit. It would be extremely difficult to prove it, right? That's essentially what it would be. But we could, if it was the actual exact one, because that is sampling. Any piece of it in the smallest amount or the largest it's still a sampling, but with what you explained, it's recreating something similar, right?
Right,
Is that
right,
how it's
right,
working?
right. So all it's doing is recreating something else. It's not copying the sound. It's basically taking the sound or recreating it and putting it in Vital. So then it's
Very
giving you a
interesting.
Vital preset. So they made it at some college. I feel like it might be UC Berkeley or something like that. I could be completely wrong with the college though. But they made it at a college, a bunch of college kids, and I mean they've done everything that they needed to do legally to release the product. So
Hmm.
um,
We'll
yeah.
see. Moving on. Most underrated, and then this is in the paid space, okay? So in the
Okay.
most underrated plugin.
The most underrated plugin, I would say it has to be UVI Falcon because it's just a really good synthesizer plugin. You can do like anything you want to do in that plugin. So like if you're into the synth world or anything like that, you know about UVI plugin or UVI Falcon, but not a lot of people talk about Falcon like they should. Like it's literally probably the synthesizer that can do everything. It's got all the effects. It's got a million different arpeggiators that you can do. It's so, it takes a lot of time to learn, but it's so vast and just features. It's super feature rich. It's probably the most underrated plugin out there.
Same question, most underrated plugin, but in the free space, if applicable.
The most underrated free plugin out right now is probably Vital. I mean, I know that may sound stupid because everybody knows about Vital, but Vital is the plugin that can do everything. It's a very solid plugin. Everybody knows about it, but it's super solid. I also think that this is going to catch me some flack, but Cymatics just dropped a new plugin called Deja Vu. And the reason why that is slept on is because a lot of people don't always have money to buy plugins, but it's a free halftime plugin. So it's halftime, but it's free. And so everybody loves halftime. Halftime's used on so many hip hop trap songs and stuff like that now. And so if you couldn't afford it before, now you can get Deja Vu and it sounds just as good as halftime.
Most expensive plugin that's totally worth the price.
Omnisphere, without a shadow of a doubt. That's my favorite plugin too. It costs $500. Some people do say it's overrated, but I feel like people say it's overrated because they don't know how to use it. I don't want to say they don't know how to use the tool, but they don't use the tool properly. It has like over 10,000 sounds and it's good for every genre. So it's good they make sounds in there for every genre. That's why it's so vast in samples. And people are like, well, I don't have time. I lose inspiration searching through all the presets. And I'm like, man, I ain't never lost no inspiration searching through presets. But all you got to do is go to the search window. If you want a high-pitched bell, type high-pitched bell, and it's going to bring you up a whole bunch of those over here. Are you doing that? Or you want a guitar, just type in guitar, and it's going to give you all the guitars. Or it's just super dope. And it has all the effects in the world that you can use in the plugin, just arpeggiator, just synthesizer, you can sample, you can
Yeah, I was
do
gonna say, I think when we used it, it was pads, soundscapes. Just there was a lot of demand on the CPU, so it was a big
yeah,
boy.
yeah. I'll give you that. I'll give you that. It is CPU intensive, but nowadays, if you have just like a decent computer, it's a little different than 2017. Like I have an Acer that I use an Acer and an M1 MacBook. And I typically do all my reviews off the Acer because it's PC, it's easier, but it's only an Acer that doesn't push much, and I can get like 5 or 6 instances of Omnisphere on it, and it'll work fine. So I don't know if it's the update that they did, the last update or whatever, but that's enough.
Yeah, I'm still liking Serum. Last two questions in this grouping. So favorite 3 synth VSTs. You might just throw one we already discussed in there, but favorite 3.
I mean, I'm gonna go Omnisphere Falcon, and then I'm gonna go with the Arturia V Collection 9. So I know that's not one synthesizer, but it's you would buy the whole collection. 10 just came out, I guess, today. So Arturia V Collection 10, even though I don't have it yet, I mean, I'm gonna get it. So but it's got like a emulation of all the old school synths. So like DX7s, MS20s, just whatever you can think of, different Prophets, whatever you can think of. There's like 40 or 45 different synth emulations in there. And that's, in my opinion, that's the best emulation of all those old synths is Arturia V Collection. And then Omnisphere is a synth, and I gotta say Falcon too.
A Music Attorney is your #1 legal resource for artists, producers, and record labels. Get contract templates, one-on-one legal advice, free masterclasses, and everything you need for your music business. Go to topmusicattorney.com. All right, so last question. If we could leave the people, and going into the new year and thinking about what they want for their careers, if you could maybe just give 3 tips, what would it be on, what they should think about this year, what they should work on, regardless of what their goals are?
I would honestly say work on what it is that you want to give your audience. So I say that because there's different ways that you can grow an audience. So for me on YouTube, I think about YouTube like this. YouTube, you can grow a few different ways. You can grow if you entertain people. You can grow if people dislike you. And you can grow if you help people and you teach people. So what do you want to do? I wouldn't go for the dislike route because, eventually you're going to be like all those red pill communities where you're going to get canceled or they're going to shut you down. So you need to figure out if you want to be entertaining or if you want to help people in some way, shape, or form. Now, the same thing could be said with music or whatever it is. You need to look at wherever you're at, whatever space that you're in, and figure out the different ways that people grow. Like if it's a musician, whether it's because you're on a record label, or you're an indie artist, or because you're behind the scenes, or whatever. There's so much stuff that you can do with music. I would really sit down and I would figure out a lane that you wanted to get into, and then I would push that lane to the limit. I would set goals. And so by setting goals, I mean, write those goals down and sincerely work on them every single day. So don't just make a goal that says, so I'll give you an example. My goal for next year is to get to 50,000 subscribers by the end of the year. So what am I going to do to get to 50,000 subscribers from by the end of the year? I'm going to branch out and do more content like this with other creators, to where I'm reaching out and I'm, interviewing them. And in return, if they want to have me on their platform, cool. But it's not necessarily about me being on their platform. It's about me giving my people something. So I'm giving somebody a new form of insight about something that I may not understand, or somebody may be a more of an expert than me. So that's one way I want to go. It's about the videos that I'm going to put out. So I have some different stuff that I want to do in this area. I can't give away the ideas because, somebody else will do it. That's the way that it works. But I've got some other ideas that are just kind of funny ideas, but it's still all music related, and it's all related to the stuff that I do and that I talk about. But they're just a different way to approach it. And then maybe doing some things that are like video docs. Like I did some video docs on a different channel. I had a sports channel that I started a little bit after I started this channel. But maybe just doing different kinds of content, and then I'm doing more synthesizer reviews and stuff like that. So it's going to bring different people into the channel, because I'm privileged, I guess, if you want to say that. I don't know if I necessarily believe that content creators are privileged because we get equipment or we get software, whatever. I think it's earned, because somebody's not going to just send me, a $1,500 synthesizer because I'm privileged. They're going to send it to me.
Some in return.
Right. Well, or they've seen that I put out 800 videos, really 500 and something, 300 and something live streams. And I work hard every single day. I'm, positive, I do a thorough job in whatever I do. So they know that the work that I did warranted me being able to do a review on this. So I don't believe that you're privileged. Yes, you could say lucky, but if I wouldn't be able to get it if I didn't work this hard every day. So
that started with having the big goal and then having the micro goals of how you achieve that through execution.
Right. Yeah. And so working on all this stuff every day, I guess I didn't do a great job of detailing out how you work on it every day, but it's just like we were talking about earlier. You make a schedule, and every day you achieve these things on the schedule. And as you keep achieving these things on the schedule, you're going to start working towards those goals. So the most important thing is writing it down, though, and following up every day and writing down these goals and checking it off, because it's going to make you prouder. And if you don't put it into the atmosphere, you don't put it into the world, it's never going to happen. You can't just have a goal in your head, be like, I'm going to hit 50,000 subscribers, and then not make an action plan, a smart action plan for it. Because without a smart action plan, you're not going to be able to do it.
But equally, going back to what you said, I think that if you have that goal and you are obsessed with it and you think about it morning, noon, and evening, you end up, executing as well. So it's have a plan, but also get obsessed with the idea of
Yeah,
you will achieve that and believe
yeah.
it.
Yeah, you definitely have to be obsessed with it, especially with something like this, because this isn't like some normal stuff, like doing YouTube and content creation is not normal. Like you got to be insane to believe that you can get a bunch of people to watch your content, believe in you, trust in you, even though they never met you, they never seen you. It's just it's you have to be insane in order to be able to believe that you can do it. And then you are going to see failures. So there's going to be big parts in your whatever it is that you do, whether it's YouTube or Instagram or TikTok or whatever it is. You're going to see periods where you're failing, especially at the beginning. And so in order to get over that failure every single day, in order to finally succeed and see some success, you have to be insane, because the definition of insanity is doing the same thing every single day, expecting a different result. Well, when you first start doing this stuff, you have to do the same thing every day. I have to get up and plan. I have to get up and put out a video. I have to do all this stuff. And there's going to be times where you're not getting any subscribers. So even though you may be putting out some of the best content, people just haven't seen your channel yet because YouTube's not recommending it, or IG's not putting you on the Explore page, or TikTok's not making it for use for anybody else to see. So you still have to do the same thing, even though you know the definition of insanity, until finally those results start to pay off. And then when those results start to pay off, then that's when you kick it into gear and you go extra hard.
All right. Well, there was a ton of great tips in there and just so much value. So people can find you some, and you do HTK for the actual YouTube channel. Where
Yeah.
else can people find you? Where do they need to go right now?
Well, you can find me on YouTube. You can find me on Instagram, same thing, Sumn HTK, which stands for hit the keys. You can find me on TikTok, same thing, Sumn HTK. All my socials, Twitter. I'm not the most active, but she talked me in after my podcast to getting a little more active. So I've been working on a little strategy to where I can start planning out, putting out content, and doing something in some more places. So you can find me in all those places. If you need any plugins, need any gear, whatever, get at me. You can message me if you have serious questions on IG or whatever. It might take a day or so for me to respond, but if you ever have questions, I'll honestly give you my honest review, my honest thought on whatever it is that you need. So.
And if you guys want to see us do more collab videos and talk about what's going on music business wise and just dropping some knowledge, drop a comment down below. Make sure to give this video a big thumbs up. And thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you on the next one. Bye, guys.